right, so we're in A10.
Speaking of integrity.
So it's A10. He and Kogan again was still in World War One, where the United States has not gotten involved.
It wasn't called World War One.
Yeah, it was called the Great War. Yeah, it was called the War to End All Wars.
Yes, because that was really accurate.
So, when we're looking at who's involved, the United States is not involved, but we do see an opportunity where we can, possibly profit off of this.
Why not?
But we're going to be neutral. So, trying to make a profit off of this and be neutral are going to be two things that are going to be really difficult.
It goes back to like Washington's farewell address yet again. Stay out of world affairs.
And they totally did not listen to that.
Nope.
I mean, a couple of years, 1803, we get involved in the Tripoli Pirates War. So,
War of 1812.
Yeah, exactly. So when we're looking at neutral, I think maybe if a definition of that might help. If two of your buddies, I know there's a couple of ways to explain this. If two of your friends are in a fight and you don't want to get involved because you don't want any of the drama, the problem there is that it's going to be difficult for you to be in fact neutral. If you talk to one or hang out with one more than the other one versus the other party is going to go, or your other friend is going to go, well, they're taking sides. Mm-hmm. It's going to be one of those things that's very, very difficult. So in terms of just human relationships, that becomes difficult. It's even much more difficult on a much more bigger scale or global scale when you're talking about countries. So the whole idea of neutrality is going to be difficult. So when war breaks out, U.S. government wants to remain neutral.
And you get into like, what's the benefit of that?
The
benefit of remaining neutral, it's like, I don't have to fight.
Yeah.
I don't have to kill.
No one gets killed.
My soldiers.
Right.
And I can continue to trade with all parties that are involved.
That's going to be the dangerous part that we're going to get into
exactly.
when we look at that.
So there's benefits to remaining neutral.
So Wilson wants us to remain neutral, and here's another one. Public opinion is going to be divided as far as people are going to take sides.
Because we have to also remember the context in which everything is happening in the world. Even though we've done our immigration unit several months ago, in the context of history, it's still going on. So we have all of those new immigrants coming over from Eastern Europe, your Poles, your Russians, your whatever, those new immigrants, and the Western European older immigrants. You can almost see where loyalties lie in the world war.
Physically, you're over here. However, there's still parts of you that are over there. There's probably still family over in Europe that you're in contact with. Coming over here and your family being established here, it's still fresh.
Even though I've never been to Poland,
right?
The fact that my ancestors came from Poland, if I'm watching the Olympics and there's a Polish person, I'm going to root for that person.
Right. Same thing with the World Cup.
Exactly.
Same thing with the World Cup. When you have my team first,
America first,
United States.
Yep.
Then who comes in second? Ireland, if they do make it. Yeah. You start choosing teams based on nationality, nationalism. That whole pride. So public opinion is going to be definitely divided. A lot of people are going to favor Britain. German Americans are going to favor the Central Powers. The Irish, of course, are going to go against
the British. Because at the time, Ireland was actually still part of the British Empire.
They didn't like it.
They hadn't won their independence yet. The ultimate irony here is this one.
That's I saw it. I'm like, yeah, Jews favor Germany. Okay, we'll say it again. Many of the Jews favor Germany. A lot of them were from Germany at this point.
But we also have to get into context.
Mm-hmm.
Because at the time, the Russian Empire, the Tsar of Russia, was brutal towards the Jews.
Yes.
Those pogroms, those almost concentration camp.
One of those push factors as well.
Yep. That why many Jews were leaving the Russian Empire. So they were like, oh, well, Germany was helping us at this time. Germany was actually a refuge for many Jews in Russia to escape those pogroms.
So, a lot of irony, a lot of double talk, I guess you could say here. And again, when you're looking at the layout of it and you're looking at where people from, it's easy to see why they're taking sides and where they're taking sides in terms of what's going on there. You have a stalemate, though. No side is really, as we're getting into the war, it starts in 1914. As we're getting into the war, no side is clearly winning or losing. Has a lot to do with the trench warfare, a lot of the back and forth. There were gains that were being made on the battlefield, but you're talking in terms of feet and not by a lot. You know, we're talking the gains where you were sacrificing a lot of life loss for a couple of feet.
The example I give in class
Yeah.
is a game of checkers, and both teams have one piece left. You know, no one's gonna win.
No one's
you
gonna
just keep jumping around, back and forth,
You're
back
waiting
and
for
forth.
somebody to tire out,
Exactly.
make a dumb mistake,
Exactly.
so you can jump.
That's
them.
pretty much what's going on.
So Wilson wants to stay out of the war. He's determined to keep us out of the war. He runs again for a second term because that's what every first-term president wants is a second term. And one of the slogans they run on, you know, this is one of these pins, was that, hey, he kept us out of the war. So he gets elected, and, you know, shortly thereafter, you kind of see where we're going. We're going to get into the war, but, you know, he gets elected, and then bang, we wind up in the war.
Mm-hmm.
But we'll get to that in a separate one. But looking at this cartoon to give you an idea of the American neutrality here, this can kind of give us a clue as to what's going on here.
And again, go back to historical context. 19 teens,
Yeah.
Industrial Revolution is complete.
Yep.
You know, we are the industrial giant of the world.
And this is your first industrialized war,
Yeah.
pretty much.
So here we are in, you know, and I kind of start off with, when analyzing this, is like, where are we? Because like, you're in a store.
Right.
It's like, how do we know? It's like, well, you know, we have a man behind a counter wearing an apron, we got a shopping list, and it's like, even though it says, you, Samuel, general store, you know.
And then when you say, you know what a general store is, and then you hear crickets.
And then I go back to like, have you ever been to Old Bethpage Village Restoration? Great place, by the way, take the family.
Oh, yeah.
And here we have Europe. Europe has their shopping list, a giant basket that is empty, shopping in the United States. And we get into the size, you know, smaller Europe,
I was just thinking the same thing.
much bigger Uncle Sam.
Yeah.
And when we get into size in political cartoons, size means strength, power, could mean greed, but usually greed is like
Gordo, huge
yeah,
in terms of your waistline.
overweight, like our Trust cartoons or Boss Tweed cartoons, you know. And Europe is going to use us as their store, but it's all the countries of Europe.
And you know, Uncle Sam is, you know, when you're scratching your head like this, you're kind of feeling indifferent, which gets into that whole neutrality thing. Hey, they got a long list. We can make a profit. However, who are we going to be trading with? How many? And
Yeah, because it says. I'm sorry.
Go ahead.
It says Europe here.
Yeah.
And it doesn't specifically say Britain or France or Germany or any. It's Europe in general.
Now, naturally, you know, when we do enter the war, whose side are we going to be on? You know, we're going to be with England. We're going to be with the Triple Entente, all right? Well, because we have this history of being in alliance with them.
A common heritage.
Yes.
You know, even though we fought them twice, they have become at this time our greatest trade ally.
Absolutely.
In the world. And I love this one.
This is a great one.
You know, because it's like, look, we're making bank early on in the war.
Farmers are doing well as also,
Mhm.
you know, which is when we go through this curriculum, it's not all the time where we're going, hey, the farmers are doing very well.
Yeah. We're making serious bank 1914. You know, we'll get into what starts to happen in 1915
Oh, sure.
and 1916 that really starts to see you skew these numbers, and it's like, all right, we're making a lot of money off of Britain. In fact, we're almost tripling our profit off of Britain, but what is
Yeah.
happening?
There's a lot
here?
you can say about this as well. You know, are we neutral? Well, they're opposing forces here. They're enemies, and we are trading with both. So if you're trying to say, okay, well, the fair thing would be to trade with both. You know, again, very difficult because as you can see, we are trading with both, but throughout it, we start to favor one more than the other, and of course, it becomes even more blatantly obvious how much we're going to favor, you know, Britain and France over Germany as we get closer and closer to entering this war.
And in future videos, we'll get into events that are going on
Oh yeah.
in 1915 and 1916.
I mean, because
with certain ships and
Oh,
certain
sure.
letters. And
Because if I'm Germany and you're traveling and you're bringing, you know, supplies over to Europe, you know, all I need is a submarine, some guys, and some motivation, and we're going to take those supplies right out of the equation.
an Underwasserboot.
Yes.
That's what they called them.
Undersea.
Underwasserboot.
I keep my German's horrible.
Underwater boat.
So when we're looking at the effects, American farmers and manufacturers are going to profit from trading with the Allies and the Central Powers. We kind of see a disparity here, though. Another thing is, as a neutral nation, we claim that we had the right to trade with either side. We claim that we have the right, they're not necessarily going to agree with the fact that, oh, they said that you could trade with both sides and they have the right. Oh, well, in that case, we're going to leave them alone. It's not going to go like that, especially when you're talking about a war and people dying each day. Also here, when we're talking about getting your word out there, I want you propaganda where you're spreading ideas to help or hurt an opposing cause. You'll see a lot of this play into World War I.
Usually it's misleading in nature.
Absolutely.
And I mean, we'll do a whole lesson on.
Yeah, we already agreed that we're doing that.
It's awesome. It's like, really, we were that like cruel and.
And the great thing is, it's posters, it's visual. That stuff. We're the guys that when we buy books, we need pictures.
Yes.
So, are we missing anything?
No,
here?
we're not.
So yes, to sum it up, the United States is neutral. If you believe that.
Almost like, go back to this for a second. He kept us out of the war, but then it's like, really?
Yeah.
1916, you're getting us involved.
Thanks for watching.